Today I'm standing here with Anne, and they did El de Luz. Anne, can you give me information regarding your project?
Oh, hello. My name is Anne, and today I will be talking about. Oh, and today I'm going to talk about the bridge. So the bridge is the length of the bridge is 12 foot long. Oh, the bridge is 12 foot long, and the width is 2 foot large. And so oh, the bridge was built because we were searching for a project to do, and so we were learning and engineering how to build a bridge, and so we decided to build the bridge, and we learned a lot about how to construct it. The first thing that we did to build the bridge was to plan the construction, and after that was about the materials and how could we use them to maintain the bridge. So some stuff that we used were some ropes and some glass plaque to maintain it. And so we connect the ropes to the glass plaque, and after that we use some PVC. Oh, so we use some PVC and to maintain the bridge in suspension, and we and after that we painted, and some materials that we used to paint it with black paint, sand, and glue to make look it like a really road. And after that we use some LED to make the aesthetic, because a bridge is not supposed to be efficient only but also pleasing to the eyes looking. And we decided to name the bridge after the lights, which was El Puente de Luz, which means bridge of lights.
Awesome. So, in real life, if you were to build a bridge, how long would that take you?
Oh, so that depends on the size and the type of bridge that we want to do. But it can take like months or years to build.
And in talking about sustainability, how does a bridge contribute to sustaining the environment?
Well, it contributes a lot, so that on Mars, the NASA is planning on using bridge to connect with. Oh, so on Mars, the NASA is planning to connect bridge to channel and to help with the sustainability.
Thank you so much, Anne. And do you want to give a shout out to your teachers?
Oh yeah. So I want to say thank you to Miss Copeland and also Miss Namor, that they were helping us. They are a teacher in engineering and they are doing an awesome job.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Enjoy your evening.
Thank you. You too.
Here. Remember, hold it up.
Like this?
Loud.
Okay.
Really loud, okay? All right.
Hi, I'm here. Go. Hi, I'm here with Catherine, and she's going to be explaining the process of making ice cream out of dry ice.
Well, we start off with our regular. We start off with our regular ice cream base. We use heavy cream, milk, sugar, vanilla extract, and a little bit of salt to make it a regular ice cream base. Then we mix it with our dry ice. We take that dry ice and we like crush it a bit, and then we mix it up like a regular ice cream process.
How does dry ice relate to Mars?
Well, during the springtime, dry ice can be used when colonizing Mars because it can help create a habitational temperature in the environment instead of using unknown and harmful chemicals.
Okay, I'm going to try the ice cream.
Let me get you.
Oh.
That's the Biscoff flavor. That's one of the chef's favorite.
It's really good. Oh. Good? It's good.
Our culinary students at the Academy Charter High School have learned how to make ice cream with dry ice. Today, one of our students will be showing us the process. Dr. Wilhoit, one of our culinary chefs here, has taught our students how to do this the proper way and how it is safe. Right now, she's putting on her gloves because when you're dealing with dry ice, you need to wear gloves. Now, can you tell me what it is that you're pouring into the mixer?
First, we're going to be pouring in our ice cream base into the mixture. So I'll demonstrate.
What is the base made out of?
Heavy cream, whole milk, sugar, and sometimes a bit of salt. And then we mix it up, we whip it up, and then we let it chill before.
Okay, so the base is going into the mixer. Oh, look at it getting all foggy.
To be adding in a bit of dry ice so you can see the process of it turning into ice cream.
The dry ice is going into the mixture. And the dry ice, is that what's making it ice cream?
The process to begin without having to put it in a freezer, it immediately turns into ice cream, so you don't have to wait. So dry ice is basically it's carbon dioxide, so when you mix it, it allows for a chemical reaction which turns it into the ice cream.
Thank you. And now the mixer is going to go on to combine the dry ice with the mixture to create instant ice cream essentially. And there we have it, instant ice cream. What flavors can I get today?
So we have strawberries and cream. We have fruity pebbles, cookies and creams, strawberry and vanilla swirl, and what else? And many other flavors made by our culinary students. So.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
This is basically aliens and stuff from outer space visiting places all over Earth. Some students here, as you see, have painted different scenes and stuff. This one is mine. I did like a tropical landscape with the color purple. I personally like purple, and you see I have my little visitors here visiting me from outer space.
What inspired you to draw this, to paint this?
I really like the color purple, and I wanted a pop of color and something different than other people's. So I like to add the palm trees, and my teacher actually helped me. Miss Nelson actually helped me with a lot of it, like the color schemes and stuff like that. So it was a good helping hand.
Okay, that's good. Thank you.
This way a little bit. What's the name of your? I'm standing here with student Jalen, and today their project is exploring wind power, and he did his project on elevate your home energy. Jalen, can you please just give me information about your project?
All right, so basic information. Basically, my project is showing how a wind turbine will be stronger when it's above ground level than when we're on lower ground level. Also, it shows how wind energy could be a good use for renewable energy because it's not burning any fossil fuels and it's not polluting the air because comes from nature, so nothing's being polluted.
Awesome. And can you tell me how something like this would be helpful on Mars?
It could be helpful on Mars. It could be helpful on Mars because it could like give Mars like more wind and it could also help with the atmosphere, give it a more clear atmosphere, like Earth.
Can you give me a demonstration?
All right. So as you can see right here,
Can you hold it? Do you need me to hold the base?
as you can see right here, it shows the average voltage. When you spin this, when wind is hit with the wind turbine, it shows the average voltage of how the wind is being blown. Right now there isn't any wind, but when you spin it, it shows how the voltage is being changed. Also, with this right here, if you put this in here, it shows how it shows how wind energy is being used. Yes, it shows how wind energy is being used to be transferred into electricity, better electricity, because it's not burning any fossil fuels, like as I said before, and it's not polluting the air. And it's showing how, and it could be a better use to the community as a new source of electricity and energy.
Thank you so much, Jalen. This is very interesting. I didn't know that this was something. When the wind blows, kind of like solar panels, they absorb the energy from the sun. Is the wind energy stored anywhere?
The wind energy, no, it's not stored.
So it's only available when the wind is blowing.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
And Lindsay's translating. She's going to be our translator.
I'm standing here with Madeline, Abigail, and Lindsay. Can you please give me a brief run through of what your project was about?
Our project is about fuel for the future, basically using green hydrogens to power stuff like cars, and how we can reduce using fossil fuels that is bad for the earth and instead resorts to green hydrogen, which is good.
Our project is basically about how we can use other fuels such as like hydrogen instead of using fossil fuels to, help with certain things such as cars and, things like that.
So this symposium is about colonization on Mars. How does this tie into that?
Well, we all know that Earth is struggling right now environmentally, and that, Mars is definitely a resourceful planet. And if we want to someday go to planet Mars, this is a few stuff we should know about Earth before we do.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
All right, can you give me, say it again so I can go?
Estamos usando un tipo de cosa para que podemos parar de matar la planeta. Estamos usándolo para que podemos usar menos de las cosas que están dañando la planeta, porque cuando los non-renewable cosas que estamos usando, eso toca para siempre, para que lo pueden hacer otra vez y se gasta muy rápido. How much time does it take for como 5 millones de años toca para que esos crezcan y no queremos y lo usamos muy rápido, entonces tenemos que parar, y para parar tenemos que usar otros tipos de maneras para no matar el planeta. Entonces estábamos usando unas cosas como agua, aire, las cosas del sol y otra cosa para que podamos asibrir la cosa para agarrar gas, y también y para que podamos usarlo para más tarde podemos usarlo para los carros y otras cosas, para que no estamos matando el planeta pero salvándolo, porque sabemos que eso es lo que necesitamos hacer.
Thank you so much, ladies. How much time and research did you put into this?
Oh, it's taken about 5 weeks, I would say, for us to gather the information, put down the data charts, and get a business analysis side of green hydrogen, and not just the aspect of hydrogen itself.
Where do we get green hydrogen from, for those who don't know?
Well, green hydrogen is a very scarce resource as of now, but it is very renewable, and you can find it underground, and it can power stuff like EV cars that we now use nowadays, and it's usually made from, well, it can usually be mixed with other stuff to create gases. It's not just hydrogen itself, but it can also be caused by stuff like aluminum and sodium hydroxide, which can make hydrogen itself. So not necessarily is it like only made from the ground, but you can also create it with materials that you have in your house.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Do you have anything to show so we can see the process?
Basically what we have here, right? We have a small tube filled with aluminum and sodium hydroxide and water, and distilled water. So this water will, well, the sodium and the aluminum, they'll mix together and they'll create a gas which will go through this tube, and the tube will bubble up because it's getting warm, and it'll go into this balloon, which, although it isn't filled up, it's still. So basically, this is a mixture of sodium aluminate, and it'll go into this balloon and fill it up. This is the hydrogen gas that's filled with. This tube produces the hydrogen gas.
And is it gonna get bigger than that?
I don't think so, because I think we need to add something to it. I'm not 100% sure, because we only tried this about 5 times, and we still haven't gotten a good result yet. However, we may try it in different times in the future to figure it out.
Thank you, ladies, so much. I learned a lot just now. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Good. Hi, I'm here with Adrian, and he's going to give us a rundown about his project.
Hi, my name is Adrian. So basically, our project is based on renewable cities. So what renewable cities do is, so for here we have 4 different cities. We have London, Tokyo, Singapore, and New York. But only 3 of these are self-sustainable. They have the capacity to be self-sustainable, but they're not self-sustainable because they still use fossil fuels. New York does not meet any of the requirements to be a sustainable city because it has nothing that the other cities do. So what we want to do is make New York City a sustainable city. Basically, if we come over here, this city here is our project of what we want to be. This is what we want the city to be. We want a city that runs on solar fuels, wind fuels, and biomasses. So what this means is that the cities will be greener. There will be more greenery on the ceilings. The walkways will be more walkable. Buildings will have solar panels. There will be waste management. There will be waste management into this underground the city here. So I will let my coworker here, my friend, Mikhail, take it away.
Yes. See, there are several requirements for a sustainable city. Sorry. New York doesn't really have much of anything here, as far as we're going. We are probably the most economically powerful city in the world. But when it comes to environmental matters, we're severely lacking. But this is what our program is meant to rectify. We have an examination of sustainable cities and how we can turn New York into one. First, I'd like to discuss our wind powers. We have our wind turbines here, which are used to power the light sources that you can see there. We also have we also have our bio waste center, which is powered by ethanoic acid. The ethanoic acid here, it will break down the waste and convert it into energy, as you can see in our fan here. And as well as that, if we were to put some waste into it, the fan will flow faster. Of course, I don't have a speedometer on me, so I can't show how much faster it's moving. But so you're going to have to take my word. But we also have our second and third requirements, which are urban farming and sustainable architecture and green architecture. As you can see, our buildings here have greenery all over the top of them. This will help to keep New York. This will help to keep New York's food security. As you can see, as it's not shown here, but New York imports its food from all over the state and the country, and sometimes even the world. This will help to greatly reduce that. Of course, it's not built to scale, but we will be able to greatly introduce our agricultural profits and our progress. We also have an underground parking lot. You see, the thing about New York City, among others, it's very crowded. Because of this, we have created an underground parking lot. So instead of the cars being all over the place haphazardly, we have a way to park the cars and keep them from cluttering the city. As well as that, we have Magic. This is one of the world's first completely water-powered cars. The way this car works is that you see, oxygen and hydrogen molecules have electrons in them. These electrons is how electric energy is formed. We will extract the electrons from the molecules and create electricity, which we will then use to power our car. This will obviously help in reducing our carbon emissions, as well as reducing greenhouse gas emissions, as well as keep our fossil fuel usage down. You see, New York is gripped by a capitalistic mindset, which allows companies to increase their profits, by, as it's not shown here, but they will usually monopolize the fuel industry. But thanks to our hydrogen and water-powered car, this future will be no more. We also have our waste management, because one of the worst things about New York City, as much as I love it, New York City stinks. Like, the stench at night is horrendous. Like, it's really bad. So our ethanoic acid biogas reactor will, of course, transform the human waste into energy, which we will then use. this is our future, and as and hopefully we can make this into a better, brighter place for everyone.
Thank you. Okay, thank you.
Hydroponics. Okay. Darlena. Hydroponics.
Hi, so today Darlena will be explaining sustainable farming with hydroponics. Sorry.
Hi, my name is Darliana Luna, and here's our hydroponic unit. And what we do is we take seeds and we plant them in cotton, and we wait until they germinate, and then we move them into the unit. And here, all the roots grow, and we have a special nutrient mix that we mix in there for it to grow faster. And typically it's like 50% more faster than in soil. And in our greenhouse, we have our control groups in there where we grow in soil.
So how does this run without sunlight? How do they grow without sunlight?
Typically in Mars, they have 40% less sunlight than us, but it's still good enough to grow plants. And to power the system, we use solar panels, which give us solar energy.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
We need to do the dome, but I'll get that. Give me 1 second.
why we want to colonize Mars is to, one, expand our horizons and prevent the end of the human race. I don't know why I'm saying it like that. Again, Mars is naturally inhabitable, so the mission now is to make it habitable for our species. Let me keep reading through these. Okay. All right. So this is the part where we're actually going to get into the cities, and it's going to include this dome right here that you're going to see behind me. It's the geodesic dome. It's the standard for living in space. Many astronauts. I think every astronaut has experienced a geodesic dome before. We have many of them on Mars for our trips.
They're currently on Mars now?
Yes, I believe so. I believe there are at least 2 or 3 of them on Mars. I'm not sure if they go to the same area every time or if they have different locations to go to, but I do know that there's at least one, and this is how we live on Mars. There's been trips for like several months, and this is where they go when there's a trip for maybe 6-7 months. This is for long-term trips. So when you think like several months, this is what that's for. Okay. Mars is naturally a very cold environment. It ranges from -60 to -125 degrees Celsius. Not fun. Listen, I love winter, but not this cold. Definitely not this cold. And the city that they're speculating building or that they're planning to build, the prototype holds about 100 people. 100 people, yes. It could go to 1,000 depending on how large they plan to scale it, but generally 100 people. I already went through this. The main reason why we're doing this is to expand horizons and prevent the end of the human race. NASA is, of course, leading this expedition, and they're actually currently doing an experiment. I'm pretty sure there's still a few more months left on it, but they're training a team of engineers and scientists to actually be able to inhabit Mars and test if it's an actual environment that we could possibly turn into a home. I'm going to get into that later. But the biggest thing that we must look at when looking for any new habitat is the challenges that that habitat is going to come with. There are 3 big things that we're going to need to look at. So you're going to need to look at the atmosphere, you're going to need to look at cosmic radiation, and you're going to need to look at the dust storms. I know dust storms sound pretty harmless, but we're going to get into why they're so deadly in a minute. First thing, the atmosphere. There's next to no atmosphere on Mars. There's speculations that there used to be because of the fact that there's ice, and in order for there to be ice, there must have been water. Fun fact about water, you actually need a specific type of pressure. You need a specific type of pressure in order to have water. So that means that there used to be an atmosphere, but given that it is now ice, and the fact that Mars' pressure level is 1% of what we have here on Earth, that atmosphere has gone somewhere. Now, we know that Mars is essentially a hunk of rock. There's no tectonic plates, there's no rotating core, which means that there's no magnetic field. So it is likely that the atmosphere that used to exist was blown away by solar winds. And actually, because of the lack of atmosphere and the lack of water, it's not a very habitable place as of yet. And even if you were to melt the ice to turn it into water, like I said, you need pressure for water. It would go straight into a gas phase. So right now, there's really no room for liquid at all. Fun fact, did you know that without pressure, if you were to step onto Mars right now, your circulatory system would immediately fail and you could die within a couple of seconds? Yeah, fixing the atmosphere is very, very important. And I'm going to go on to the second biggest issue. Actually, no, I'm going to start with the radiation first. Because radiation is not something that we have a lot of data on. So we don't advise going to Mars right about now. We need a little bit more data We don't know how it's going to affect the human body. We don't know if the materials that we're currently planning to build with are actually going to be able to take or withstand radiation or block any of it out. And considering that we don't know what it's going to do to us, we don't need it and we don't want it in our home. So we need to be able to block all of it out. And another more important thing is actually the dust. Mars is famous for its dust storms. They're very frequent, and about 1 every 10 years, there's a dust storm that covers the span of the entire planet at one time. And that dust actually has an electrostatic nature. And what that means is it sticks to anything and everything. So any sort of technology that we have that we're going to send up there is doomed. We actually sent a rover, 2018. That thing was killed by a dust storm. It covered the solar panels and it effectively died almost immediately once it experienced the dust storm. So that's definitely something we have to take care of. And there are a few prototypes and plans on how we want to deal with it. Oh, this is actually what the prototype looks like. It's like a mini, I don't want to call it a city, but this is what one of the facilities would look like in that dome. So essentially this would go inside of there, right? You see we have vegetation. In the best case scenario, we would be able to have plants and an ongoing source of food. And then essentially all of your analysis facilities and all of your science and all of that stuff would go on in this big part right here. Okay. Now we're actually going to get into like the smart city part. We're going to mush a bunch of these together to make a city. Amazing. Okay, so this is essentially a larger version of that. And it has a lot of those facilities that I showed you before, that same facility that was about 2 slides ago. There's about maybe 20 of those in there. And as you see, there's like a mini forest. And because of the fact that there is actually vegetation, there's a source of oxygen. And there's actually something I want to mention. There's something called the MOXIE. If you don't know what the MOXIE is, it's the Mars Oxygen NC2 resource unit. It essentially can take carbon dioxide and create oxygen autonomously. So that would be somewhere in here. This would be some sort of glass or see-through material, and the geodesic dome would either be built by carbon fiber or some sort of plant-based material. We're going to go through that. This is just a better view of what we've seen before. So we're going to skip through that, and this is a better view of that. So, excuse me, most activities that will be done here will be done specifically by autonomous robots. Have you seen the ones that were teased by Tesla? The labor robots that were teased by, oh, you haven't? Those were teased about like maybe 2 years ago. And the plan that actually Elon Musk was the one that set this up. He stated that he wanted to have a bunch of smaller rockets with materials put on Mars, and then he would send his autonomous robots to unpack them. Because the amount of material that would be sent to Mars is too much for a normal human to just unpack themselves. And given the fact that we need to create a pressurized environment first before we even get there, somebody's got to do that. So he actually speculated that he would be able to code the robots to do that before we get there, so that way when we get there, we have an environment to live in. Again, we're going to talk more about the geodesic dome behind me. Like I said, it's a standard for space living. Okay. It's been a staple in space exploration for several years. What I want to talk about is this part down here. We're going to get to that. That's the fun part. I love that part. Okay. We've already talked about the temperature. This is just reiterating temperature again. It's giving you some convergence to Fahrenheit in case you don't really understand how Celsius works. And also, the autonomous robots that are going to be used need to be able to withstand these kind of temperatures and pressures. So that's what we're kind of like experimenting for, and this is like the ranges that they need to be able to withstand from 0 degrees Celsius to -70 is what we're aiming for right now. Oh, this is the water map. Like I said, most of Mars is actually ice. It's referred to as the ice desert. And if all of that ice were counted as water, this is actually what it would look like. Most of that, you see that? All that water, right? If we were actually able to create a pressurized environment and get that water, that's amazing. That means that we could probably use that same water to create vegetation in the geodesic dome, which means we have a nice food supply. We don't have to keep flying back and forth, transporting food. If we could create a place of oxygen and pressure, we are set. I don't think we're set. We are set. Again, this is just explaining that you can't get water in its current conditions. You can either get vapor or you can get ice. One of the two options. These are a bunch of minerals that we've found on Mars so far. I'm not going to go through these because we have a lot more to get to. Oh, I went back. Actually, I apologize. Okay. So, essentially, this is getting into a different kind of habitat. If we were to actually use the natural material on Mars, plus hydrogen and carbon dioxide to create carbon fiber, this is what it would look like. You can't see my mouth. So essentially, we would just have, this is all carbon fiber, these beams. So that's what this would do. To help with vegetation and make sure that we have sunlight, it would all be carbon fiber. So that way we would essentially dig holes. You see the light source, right? So this is underneath, and we would dig holes and have it be held up by carbon fiber, so we could actually have large amounts of vegetation. This is actually my favorite idea because I think it makes the most sense. It's living underground. Okay, so the reason why I think this makes most sense is because essentially, because you're underground, you wouldn't have to deal with any of the dust, which is a flaw in the other systems, because even if you build it, right, if you go from outside to inside, like I said, that dust has an electrostatic behavior. It's going to stick to you, and that dust is toxic, right? So it can give you incredibly harmful lung disease. So we can't have that tracking anywhere in our own living environment. And this avoids all of that. You see, with the geodesic dome and even the design of the egg, which is something that was submitted by the Space AI Factory, it is the greatest design of nature, but unfortunately it was not built for dust. It was not built for dust like this. So, living underground, we wouldn't be able to experience that dust. And like I said, with the autonomous robots, the labor robots, they can do all the work up there. We can stay safe down underground. And there's actually a possibility that it would be easier to create a pressurized environment because Mars doesn't have any magnetic field. So if we were to do this in the air, essentially what would happen is we'd have to worry about the pressure floating upwards. Not good. But if you're down in a cavity, it can't go anywhere, right? It's essentially locked within that cavity. So it's a lot easier to get a pressurized environment. And we've created vacuums here on Earth, and those are very high pressure environments. So really, we'd only need to create like a partial-ish vacuum. So it's very low pressure, well, very high pressure still, high enough for us, but not so high that it kills us. You cannot step inside of a vacuum. That would immediately kill you. No. We don't need it. We don't need that much. We just need a little bit. So if we're able to create a partial vacuum, that would give us enough pressure to withstand the environment, have water, all those good things, all those fun things that we need for survival. And I feel, actually, it's been speculated that we'd be able to have at least the first prototype done by 2030, right? So the prototype would be built by 2030, but really the whole process wouldn't be streamlined until about 2050. Okay. We've been looking at Mars since the 70s, 1970, really 1969, 1970 is when it first started. So we've been trying to do this for a very long time, since the landing on the moon. So the fact that it seems so close now, 2050 is not that far away at all, at all. It is 2023. It's not that far away. Literally a little more than 25 years away. It is like, I'll be alive by the time that happens, and that's scary to me. But unfortunately, I don't think all of us will be able to go, even if we do accomplish this dream. This seems like something that is meant for the 5%. You know what I'm talking about? It's made for people that can afford to go. But you know, it's nice to have the dream. It's nice to see it happen. Like, at least in the event that we survive this long, we'll get to see it. And it's going to be a very monumental thing, not only for America, but for the rest of the planet as a whole. Like, America is leading this project, yes, but nobody has ever done this. This is going to be the first time that we've done something this crazy. And honestly, I can't wait to see it. I'm all for it. I'm all for it. I cannot.
You seem to have a lot of knowledge on this. Are you interested in being an astronaut?
Oh, actually, no. I just really like science, all forms of science. I'm actually interested in cybersecurity, but I take interest in all kinds of science. So, like, I don't mind researching about planets, researching about health, and things like that. I'm actually in the medical sector of my high school, where we learn about diseases and treatment and a bunch of other things. By 18, I'm going to be a certified medical assistant in the event that I pass my exam. But
you're going to pass it.
Of course. But that's what you get when you come to a high school like this. My high school, it's something very different. I've never seen anything like this before. It's very new. I've been here since its creation, and I love it very much. I'm very thankful for my principal and my teachers, especially Dr. Petit. He's my medical teacher. I love him very much. They've done so much for us here at the Academy, and I'm just very thankful that they could help us put this together.
That's amazing. Thank you so much, LaDania. You really said a mouthful, and you taught me so much that I did not know regarding this. And, you know, I'm excited to see what else you guys come up with, and thank you. We love having you at the Academy, and we can't wait to see you graduate. You are going to be the part of the first graduation class at the Academy Charter School in Uniondale for their career and technical education program. So we see that it's benefiting. We see that you are doing great. You're absorbing all the knowledge, and I just want to say thank you.
We thank you for being here, really. It's honestly so fulfilling that you get to be here and see all of our work. We've worked on this for months. This is something that we're very excited about. So we're just glad that you guys get to see it.
Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you. You too.
I'm I'm standing here today with Chichi and Rebecca, and they are part of the medical science project. They're going to explain what their project was based on and what they did.
Okay, so our project was based on AI in the healthcare field, and we really wanted to explore the roles, reasons why it's very important to start incorporating AI, and some of the qualms and concerns people may have pertaining to AI in the healthcare field.
Yes, so it's just as Chi-Chi said, this is mainly about AI in the healthcare. So we explored the advantages of AI, how it's useful, its benefits, how fast it works, and how it's like more efficient than humans are in the healthcare.
So what is an example? Like, how does that work in healthcare?
So there's many examples from theory of mind AI to sentient AI, which we really aim to get to in the future. But theory of mind AI can be a regular robot creating an algorithm that chooses appropriate, treatment methods for patients, like whether a patient should receive bed rest at this time or this time, whether they should eat at this time or this time. Simple things like that to extreme things like deciding what medicines they should take and how a surgery should perform.
So how does that help doctors or medical professionals? Do you think that there will still be a need for actual people in the health spaces?
Yes, there will be. Although AI is quite more efficient in work than humans, they still need they still need people to be able to be there with the patients in order to provide things such as like emotional support. And also, as good as AI is, we also need humans to be able to guide them as well into becoming like better than they are now.
Is there a lot of information out there for AI to pull from, or is it still lacking some information?
There are tons of information sources that AI can pull from. It's just that people are afraid where this information is coming from. People fear privacy concerns and stuff related to that, but we must ensure that once we integrate this stuff, we will put up the precautions that will prevent people's information from being used in ways that they don't want it to be used.
Okay, awesome. Can you show me something about your project on one of these tables?
So we made some students in the medical assisting program, they made a couple of robots that are very small scale versions of robots like the smart robot that does laparoscopies. So this is just a small scale example, so it's not perfect, but it's just like an example of how this can be used practically in the real world. So these can be used to make precise incisions that...
Can we get a shot of them using the robot to make an incision in the. So you're going to use the robot to make an incision? Okay. Wow. Can we see another sample of that? Can you do the incision again? How long did it take you guys to build this?
About a week. Oh, about a week.
Wow. So you just got together. Was there a protocol that you followed, or you guys came up with this on your own?
There was a protocol followed.
Very interesting. So you guys are going to be doctors? Is that your plan in life?
Yes, I aspire to be a doctor, hopefully in the future. Hopefully one day work in an emergency room.
My options are very open, but I would be hoping to go into medical assistant or medical technician.
And what about you?
My options are open right now, so I want to be a professional soccer player, but I still want to follow my medical career. And also, if I would also like to work on engineering in the medical field also as well.
That can come in handy. You know, sometimes you enter into a certain field, but medical is always needed in soccer. So maybe when you're done playing, you can go into, you know, taking care of injured players. Thank you. Are you guys? So now, I'm here with Katie Ann and Omari, and they are doing 3D human cell models. Can you guys give me some information regarding this?
So basically, here we have 3D human cell models that were created by the CTE medical students. These 3D cell models show the anatomy and the pathophysiology of human cells. It basically shows how the organelles inside of a cell work together in order to complete a common function that each specific cell has.
In the project, we also went over like diseases that happen when a specific organelle is not functioning properly. For instance, the one I found most interesting, or like my favorite, is the centriole and the cell membrane. Now, the centriole is in charge of dividing the cell. It's like the boss that overlooks the files to make sure that the DNA and the ATP needed for the next cell is there. So let's say you have Down syndrome, you're missing a chromosome, or you have an extra chromosome. You would blame the centriole because that's your job. You're supposed to make sure that everything's correct. So what's going on? So scientists are trying to look into the centriole, look at the genetic coding of the centriole. They're trying to see if there's some kind of coding that's messed up, or is there something that's missing, you know? And then for the cell membrane, let's say you have diabetes, type 1, not type 2. The cell membrane is in charge of the ATP that goes out of the cell, and all the nutrients that it takes in, and so on and so forth. It's basically the bodyguard to make sure that nothing unwanted enters the cell. Now, for instance, the insulin is left in your bloodstream. It's used to make sure that your sugar and your pressure is proper. Why is the cell membrane not accepting the insulin? Is there something wrong? Does the cell membrane not recognize insulin? Because remember, the cell membrane accepts the proteins and whatnot based on their shape. So does the cell membrane not understand, does not recognize the shape of insulin as rejecting it or something else? So now you have to go into the cell membrane and fix the genetic coding of that as well. And I find that very interesting because it's like, it's a lot of work because there's so much that goes behind our DNA and our RNA and stuff like that. So I found that that's very interesting.
Wow, thank you guys so much. You really know a lot. You guys, you're not even reading this off of a piece of paper, so you know that information in your mind. Are you guys going into the medical field? Is that your plan?
It's one of the reasons why we have to know so much information. When you're going into the medical field, we have a great teacher, Dr. Petit. He keeps telling us over and over again, he doesn't want anyone who doesn't know what they're talking about going into the medical field and interfering with people's lives. So when you're going into the medical field, it's really important that you know the body, the anatomy, and how the body reacts to certain chemicals and just generally how the body functions and works.
Are you guys in 11th grade or 10th? You're in 10th grade, so you're getting a lot of information that college kids get. I know a lot of people who failed out of anatomy, so learning it so young is really good for you guys. So when you get to college, it's going to be a breeze. Do you know what kind of doctor you want to be or where in the medical field you want to be, or you're still thinking about it?
I know the area I want to be. So for instance, I was talking about the central. I really want to dive deep into like the studies and the labs that are done to see why the body reacts the way it does. And I'm also interested in forensic science about anatomy and pathology and stuff like that. So definitely where I'm going. That's it.
Oh, and me, although it's not directly medical, but I would like to be a forensic scientist, so this was the closest class to that. And which is why I appreciate a CTE high school. It basically allows me to get more information on what goes on in the body and the cells and how chemicals affect the body and stuff like that.
Thank you guys so much for being willing to do this interview. Thank you. I appreciate it. The Academy appreciates you. And I'm looking forward to seeing what else you guys have to offer while you are here. Have a good night.